Hi there, and welcome to the Live Vybrant Podcast, where we explore how to live with energy, purpose, and intention. I'm your host, Joshua Haag, a holistic lifestyle, performance, and success coach with a background in professional sports and 2 decades of coaching experience. Each week, I sit down with experts across a multitude of fields, including wellness, finance, and personal growth, to uncover practical strategies that will help you thrive in every area of life. Let's dive in and help you live your most vibrant life. I'm super excited to have on Marcus McDuffie. He is the CEO of Aion Fitness. I said that right. Aion, right?
Aion Training, yeah.
Aion Training, because it's spelled A-I-O-N, so Aion. Aion Fitness. It is up in, I believe, Pasadena, correct?
Yeah, we're out there. We're by the Rose Bowl out there, man.
Honestly, I'm really excited. Absolute inspiration when it comes to the fitness industry. And he's opening a second location, which he's going to tell you all about. And I'm really thankful that he was able to take some time and hop on today and share a little bit of his vibrant life with us. Marcus, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, my man? It's good to connect with you. I know life can get busy for entrepreneurs, but it's always dope to just have that time, especially with someone like you, man. It's good to chat.
Great to chat, man. And we have had such a hassle in terms of scheduling, getting on between him and I. Everyone listening doesn't see the text back and forth of canceling, but it's really exciting. So give us your quick background. What is Aion Fitness or Aion Training? Where's your background? How'd you get into it? Just give us the 411.
I'll try to niche it down as much as I can. I never like the people go on 7-minute rambles, but I think for me, I started working out at like 9. It was always around sports. So, I played football all the way up through college and fell in love with lifting only through that and because of that. In college, basically after 3 years, I wasn't used to losing. And I went to a D3 program where we didn't do well. It was Occidental out here in Eagle Rock. And I quit football and then I was like, oh shoot, this thing that was my identity for this whole time was gone. My friends on the team were gone. My other friends were abroad. And I was like, oh shit, man, I'm lonely. And basically at that time, I started to go to the gym like 2 times a day. I'm doing Arnold Schwarzenegger, whatever else. And I fell in love with fitness because it gave me a community. It gave me a space to work on myself and also be in the presence of others in a very just healing way, right? So now flash forward to Aion, we have the first location around 130, 140 members, opening up a second one soon. And the base of it isn't to teach people how to do squats. It's to give people a community where they feel connected, they don't feel alone, but also to give them a place where they can work on themselves, start with the body, the mind is easier, and kind of like just live more fulfilled lives. That's the biggest thing with us. It's exercise is exercise, but how do you teach someone to really understand the strength they have in their life through what they're doing? And I think that's one of the main through lines for us.
Absolutely. And realistically, it's funny when the people that I have on, the guests that I have on, hit the exact reason why I wanted to bring them in without knowing it. And I don't even have to lead into questions. So for those listening, and I've met Marcus's team at different events, summits, and things like that, he has put together an absolute spectacular culture in his facility and especially with his staff. And I wanted him to shed some light in terms of like creating that community and a little deeper background about him and I. We sat on basically like a high level mastermind board together and really ripped apart each other's businesses in a good way, constructive. And this is kind of where I started to see the inner workings of his mind and his growth mechanisms, which I hope he explains a little bit, and the journey that he's been on mentally as he's grown these gyms. And I think it's a really powerful story. So start there before we get into community. Talk about some of the things you've read, kind of the evolution that you've had mentally that can really help some of our listeners.
Yeah, man. I definitely, so I'll try to drop a few things that are helpful for peeps. I think for me, like I went to a prestigious school, but I realized early on, like, that there was a lot of things I didn't care about. And there was a lot of reading I had to do that I hated. And so I kind of fell out of love. Like I was also the kid that my parents would have me reading like all these books and manuscripts and things that, in hindsight were good, but I hated them at the time. So I actually thought that I hated learning. And, it's once I graduated, I started my first job as a PT, and I never did well with like physical books. I still don't. I actually hate them. There's a lot back there. Some of those are books I've read on Audible and then I bought it for the show.
This is the guy who I'm going to ask him to name drop books. He reads so many.
But yeah, it's like I read The Alchemist. The Alchemist was the first book on Audible, and I was like, oh wow, like that feels really good, you know. And I just started whenever I was working out, like when I did accessory work, I would pop a book on. Whenever I was just like driving, I would pop a book or a course on, and I kind of just fell in love with like how reading these stories from other people and this information changed the way that I looked at the world and really changed the way I looked at myself. So I think the first piece there is no matter how it looks for you, find some way to learn and learn consistently, right? Like that's one of the biggest core values at my studio is lifelong learner. And all my staff knows every single week in the Monday meeting, we have a check-in of, hey, what did you learn last week? And they do like a small like minute presentation on it. Because I think that's such a key to like this whole thing is you always need to be learning something in some way. It doesn't need to always be books, doesn't need to always be podcasts, doesn't need to be a course, but find like what it is for you and go with it, right? So, and just fall in love with that process, man, because one of the best books I ever read early on was oh man, I'm blanking on it. It's Carol Dweck, Mindset by Carol Dweck. And the whole thing of the book is that there's two ways to look at the world. There's a fixed mindset where I'm stagnant. And this is where I actually started. Because when I graduated from Oxy, I thought like I had like a C average. I was like, oh, I'm not that smart actually. I'm not that great. I guess I don't have what it takes in whatever. And that was how I looked at the world for a long time. And my success definitely was a representation of that. And the book just kind of shifted it. It's like, no, all skills are learned. And even like, you start with some stuff, but you have a learning cap and you're nowhere close to it, right? So even, our old mentor Vince says, I'm not a better writer than you, I've just written more, right? So that's the first book I would definitely recommend to anyone listening if you haven't already. The second book was the most influential book I ever read, and it's one that I assign to my staff member anytime I give them a promotion. And that book is called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And that book basically what the book's premise is each one of us is born with this cap or this internal thermostat, not a cap, but an internal thermostat. And that's how much success, how much love, how much abundance, whatever else, in all categories, financial, business, relationships, whatever else, that you feel like you deserve. And it's different for every single person based off whatever you grew up with. And that book basically says like a lot of times what happens is when you start hitting a level of success in whatever area and it feels uncomfortable, your body has this call back to homeostasis. And the chemicals and the thoughts and everything that bring you back down to where you're used to start to flare up whenever there's this cognitive dissonance or this like, oh shoot, I feel happier than I'm used to. And it scares your body, right? So it kind of teaches you how do you look that in the face and be aware of it. And so that's been such a big thing for me, man, is like, on this journey of entrepreneurship, it's a business journey, or it's really like it's a personal journey disguised as a business one. And I kept having these times where we would have a great month and then I would start shitting the bed and missing emails and not calling people. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? And I learned like, oh, that's what that is. So we could do a whole segment on that, but I think.
And then how do you start to make the steps to overcome? Give the listeners one or two like tactical things. So it's like, okay, I am starting to be happier than I've ever been. How do I continue to grow?
Cool. So this part right here, I will caution you to say one of the biggest faults of entrepreneurs, myself included, is that we think that it has to be difficult or confusing or that there's this magic secret, and there's not, right? So all you need to do is one, when you become aware of the thing coming up or you become aware of this fervor in your body of like, or you even start saying like, oh, I'm dropping the ball or I'm off track, you can use this for clients as well, is to just say, hey, like, I noticed this and I'm willing to allow myself more abundance and just cut it there, right? And that's all you need to do. All you need to do is be aware of it, see the things flaring up. You're still gonna, the way it goes is you go up and then you sabotage a lot. And then you go up and you sabotage a little less. And then you go up and you sabotage a little less. And so every time you catch it, you also defeat it in that same time. It's always gonna be there, but every time you catch it, it weakens. So I think that's the biggest thing. Is just being able to have a language and an awareness that this is even coming up. Because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't know why this always happens to me or why I can't keep this thing successful or whatever else it may be. And it's like, have you ever asked if like there's something scary or your body's trying to protect you? Because that's what it is. It's not self-sabotage. It's what your body thinks is safe.
Subconscious sabotage, realistically.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that's awesome. That's a powerful statement. And that was By Gay Hendricks, it was The Big Leap.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Can't
Cool.
recommend that enough.
So, okay. So you're reading, you're growing, right? You graduated. Continue. How your mindset shifted to where you are today. Continue on.
Yeah, man. So I think if we really want to go into it, right? There's like in me, there's always been, and I'm very thankful that my parents seeded this, but there's always been this like need for hard work and also just a love for learning. Even though I hated it, I hated it looking one way, but I always liked to like try out new things and be explorative and whatever else. And so as I've just always wanted to be good at whatever I was doing. And to the point that it's not always healthy, I will be 100% real, especially earlier in my career. There were multiple times where I was like, oh, I can't eat dinner yet. I haven't finished my task. I haven't earned that. Oh, I can't like go to bed. I can't play video games. I haven't finished my work. I don't deserve that. Right. And so it wasn't even from a point of like trying to be disciplined. It was from a point of proving my worth. And so I kept running into that. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I think COVID really opened my eyes because, I was in a destructive relationship then. And, like I was like dropping the ball on stuff in the studio. I was running the studio by myself. I wanted to burn the place down. I didn't have any employees, so I was there all day. And I just kept hitting this point where I was like, this can't be it. This can't be the only way to look at this thing. This is not it. Like, success or whatever shouldn't feel this dirty and this just like I don't feel good. And for me, it was like, okay, cool. Well, why don't you? And just like asking that question, not out of anger, but out of just curiosity. And I think this is something that anyone could do. I tell my employees like, hey, if we're running into a wall over and over and over, don't get mad at the wall. Just like take a step back and with curiosity, not with anger at yourself, and just be like, hey, man, like what's going on? Why am I running into this problem? Why am I not where I want to be? And your body and your brain like has a lot of those answers already if you trust it. So I would say like throughout that journey, I kept asking that question. Hey, like, how could this be different? And that's led me to, so many things. I really think like the better you know yourself as an entrepreneur, the more successful you can be. And you learn about yourself through many things. I've been blessed with great mentors. First thing, I'll say it right here. If you're in this entrepreneur thing and you don't have some type of business coach or someone that's mentoring you, you are going to waste years and years of time. That is just straightforward. I believe that so much. I've been blessed with mentors since the day I started the business. And so in that, you learn through other people, you learn through self-exploration. So whatever that is, man, like I've done therapy, I've done plant medicine, I've done just like meditation and just sitting with myself and seeing what comes up. I've done journaling with Chat GPT to see what pops back up. And it really is like at the end of the day, you just got to be willing to really get to know yourself and know like, hey, what are my faults? What am I not good at right now? What do I need to look at? And take all the shame out. Like, who gives a fuck? At the end of the day, this is all one big game. This whole entrepreneur thing at the end of the day is just one big game. We're all going to die. So why not, like, explore and have some fun along the way, right? And
enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least just, like, be okay with what you're doing. Yeah.
You say it so easily. However, I know the number of people that I've talked to, gym owners, different entrepreneurs, clients, people who are locked in that cycle of fear. You have such a great outlook on it though. And it's hard. It's hard to get a grip on that it is okay and will be okay. It's difficult. It's really hard.
I will say like during 2020, between the business, my relationship, friendships that were hard to keep up with this new business, I really like got thrown all the way down into the fire, and I had to like, you hit that point where you're like, oh, I need to change, right? And I feel bad for people that sit right above the fire their whole lives because you don't ever get the chance to step out of that. So
how do you think you start to, like bring awareness to that? Like, how do you start to understand that, like, wait a minute, I'm not right here? How would you recommend, or how would you talk to somebody who, like, you see them sitting by the fire? How can they bring some self-realization to that?
So there's two things. One, sometimes, and this is unfortunate, and you see this in clients. We've had clients where there is no coaching. No matter how much coaching you give them, it doesn't really click. And that's because sometimes it just has to get so bad that you go, this can't be it, right? And so we've had to let go of clients because like they just aren't responding and they're combative or whatever else, and they just need to go through that, and then they come back and they're ready to make these great journeys. So I think that's the first part, is that just trust that like when that time is going to come to you, it will. And the second part is, if you are someone who's like already starting to ask that question, you're in the right place. And I would say a lot of times, like, just, like there's so many things nowadays. Like like I said, there's therapy. You can do the online. You can, just talk to ChatGPT and get some answers there if that feels more comfortable. But I think that it really is like, hey man, like I am being so real. Like I still have hard days. Everybody does. But I don't really ruminate anymore. And I don't really have these spirals like I used to. And I don't ever wake up with like, I used to have panic attacks and I don't anymore. And a lot of it has just been from like sitting with those things. So I think that's the other part. Like if you're running into these walls and you're feeling like, oh, there has to be another way, or this is always hard, it doesn't have to be hard. It'll be work, but it doesn't have to be hard. And I think that's like something that, especially the last 3 years, I believe more than ever.
And there's a big difference between being hard and just work. I think you also hit the nail on the head here in terms of like through this entire journey, you also had a realization or an understanding personally of what success looks like, at least for yourself, some sort of vision, and it's going to change. I can't stress enough the number of people that I sit down with in the first session. And it's like, why are we here? What are we doing? If we don't know what success looks like, how am I ever going to get you there? And the same thing applies to business. It applies to your body. It applies to nutrition. It doesn't matter. It's like a moving target. And I think that's something that you really nailed down in terms of you've always had a great vision. Well, at least from my knowing you, you've always had a great vision. Do you go through any exercises for that or anything to help kind of pinpoint what success is in terms of envisioning?
Actually, I love that you brought that up because I think that is like, if we go back to your last question, I think that's actually a really great way as well. Is like, once you paint the picture of what success looks like for you, it actually just brings awareness to all the ways that like you may not be acting in like alignment with that. So I actually just did my visioning. I do like a story visioning. So what I'll do is I'll go 10 years in the future and I'll just go through it like a day. It's from this guy named Ari Weinswig at Zingerman's. I got it from Vince Gabriel, my mentor, and you basically write it out. And so mine goes, today is January 1st, 2035. I wake up in bed next to my, at this point, wife, and we go outside before the kids wake up. I talk about how my house looks. I talk about how my business looks. I talk about how I feel. I talk about how much money I have. I talk about all of these things. And I just kind of like dictate it, and then, I have ChatGPT put together in a more cohesive manner. But and so I'll just look at that once every couple weeks and I'll go, you ever heard of like red car syndrome? Yeah, so it's that exactly. It's like I paint the picture of what I'm looking for in my life, and then slowly like all these opportunities to get closer to it start to pop up. And it's not that they weren't ever there. I was just so narrowly focused or so blind to them. And now I'm like, no, this is what I want in my life. And then it starts to come to me.
That's the, it's, what is it called? Where you have, it's like affirmations or positive I am statements, things like that, where you're basically putting into reality the thought process. And like, there is a biochemical reaction internally. So it's like, it's such a beautiful tactic. And you said it's from Ari from Zingerman's Deli.
Yeah, Ari
Weinswig. This is a great tool for anybody to use. I think that's really powerful. And it takes a lot of courage. I'll be honest. I've done the 1, 3, and 5 years. Doing something like this. You have to be willing to put something out into the universe that scares the bejesus out of you. But if it does scare you, I bet you money it's in the right bucket. Right? If you're putting this together, and for someone who listens to this and tries to actually take this to heart, and you write, yeah, I want a nice apartment, and that doesn't scare you, you've shot too low. It should really make you feel the feels. It's a beautiful tactic. I thank you for that. I didn't know you were going to go there. That was awesome. It's the simple things. So, okay. And then, so how does this all bleed over into your staff? And I know it definitely, I have a couple of my clients who have some real staffing and culture issues when it comes to their team. And regardless of the industry, culture is culture, right? It's what you're creating inside the organism that is your business. And how do you go about it? The hiring process, finding the right people, because you have done an outstanding job in terms of your team. And I have struggled. I have some wonderful people on mine, but I have been through a ringer in terms of hiring. So tell me about how you've created your culture within Aion and kind of what that looks like.
Yeah, man. So I think at the base of it, for me, once again, like just wanting to be really good at what I do, and some of it is out of fear of being shitty at it. If we're being real, just the thought of being really shitty at it, it makes me uncomfortable and scared. So I'm like, I want to be really good at this thing. So before I hired a team, and I think If you have a team right now, or if you're thinking about hiring someone, you don't have to do this first, but it's very important that you do it early on, or that it's there, is core values. So what you can do is just, just step back and think about, you can like just read some online, see what resonates with you. We've changed ours a couple times, and just get really clear on, hey, to me and to this company, what are the most important things? What are the ones that we want to lean on? And for us, like, our first one is make them feel special, make them feel like they matter. Lifelong learner, have a growth mindset, be a pro, be accountable, humble, and honest, never forget your impact, and hold the standard, right? And like, those are the things that we judge all of our employees off of. And you kind of have this base, like, hey, if somebody's a great trainer, but they don't live up to your core values, you're kind of undercutting your culture. So I think that's the front end, is just having like a really good, like, what is the strategy? What type of people do I want here? Some of that is learned over time. When I hired my first coaches, that was much different. And the second piece is, you have to care about people. You have to, like, a big part of your focus should be on, at least with your direct reports, right? Like, I work with my studio director at the first location mostly, and then he works with the coaches. He's a great dude, and he's inspired me as well, Sean. But in that, like, I always care about Sean. And part of the reason I'm excited to grow this business is so Sean makes more money and he has a better schedule. And my second studio director makes more money and he has a better schedule, and he can be there with his family, right? And like, that's what gets me excited. Because like, yeah, I could have my own good life and that would be all hunky-dory and whatever the hell else. It's going to happen, I believe it. But the idea of like having multiple studios excites me, because that means multiple positions that we want to do. Like, on my 10-year goals is I have $4 million in payroll, still at 35% of revenue. And that excites me, because that means all of these people, I get to create something that pays for their food, that pays for them to be with their family, to take trips, to enjoy their lives. And there's nothing in this world that can get me hyped up like that, for being real. So that's the second part, is you have to actually care about them. Because if you're only using people for the process of making your own wealth or growing your business, some of them are going to be cool with that. Some people don't care. But the large majority of people, especially today's age, like, that's going to matter, and you have to know like what they want. On our quarterly reviews, we do, hey, what's important to you right now? More responsibilities, time off, more pay, whatever else it may be, right? So I think those are the two fronts. At the beginning, core values, culture, what does that ideally look like? If you don't know where to start, type in core value examples on Google, and then just say, oh, I like that one. That's how we started. I went to a bunch of sites, I was like, I like these 6. People are there, just get to know them. Like, ask them, hey, like, what do you want out of this job? And if it aligns, cool. I've had people in the past go, I want to make $120,000, and their work ethic and what they didn't match up to that, and it didn't work. And that's not on me, So yeah, I think it just goes to both of those.
I love it. And I think a piece that's missed with the core values, and it took me a long time to realize, is, yeah, go on, ask ChatGPT, look at Google's or Apple's or whatever you want, but it still needs to be a piece of you. Don't just take someone else's because it has a good ring. Like, it's got to be who you are as a business or as a person. And usually a lot of the people who would listen to this starting up as your small business or you're independent and looking to hire 1 or 2 people, it's you, baby. Right? So what makes you tick? Yeah, look for help from the outside or something to springboard you forward, but don't just take something just because it looks cool. You got to believe it to you. I know this is going to sound cheesy. Believe it to your core. No, that's a little plug there.
That's real, man. Oh, is that one of your sayings for Vybrant?
No. I wish it was. That would be so great.
I was like, oh, that's like they said it in the movie moment.
It's like the camera spins and fades out. That's awesome, man. So besides Aion, what are you doing in life? What's the world look like? What makes you tick? Give me some of Marcus outside of the amazing coach and business owner.
Man, I think so it's so funny. Like, I spent a big part of like my earlier 20s trying to define that. Actually, one of the scariest moments was my old business coach. On a call, I was like, hey man, like, I'm starting to coach these like, more affluent people. They're very successful. Like, how do I connect to them? And he was like, oh, you have to talk to them outside of just business. Like, what else do you do? And that scared the hell out of me, because I hadn't done anything. I graduated, I'd started a business, and I was like, this is it, right? So I think for me, man, like, it's been, and it's still hard, because my entire adult life, for the most part has been running a business. So for me now, it's really like pouring back into relationships. It's pouring back into time with friends. Like, how do I connect with these people? How do I create like a brotherhood, of just people that I really enjoy, and I want them in my life, and putting time towards that. Because, when you're in the thick of it, and, it is just you, or it is just you and one person, whatever else, it's hard. It's hard to maintain or establish. So,
And you feel like you're in the weeds. It's really hard to see out, to see or to take in that you are not necessarily failing, but missing pouring into other people's and relationships buckets. I definitely know what you mean.
yeah. And then when you do have free time, you're like, I don't want to do anything. I want to go to bed. I want to
I want to sit on the couch and veg.
That's
One interesting thing I kind of talk to people about, especially like relationships, like an actual like personal relationship, is our career path is so emotionally demanding. And I don't know within your own training how close you get to your people in terms of like the one-on-one time with an individual client, even a small group. It is very taxing in terms of taking on their life and helping navigate things. And they come to us and vent, and, hormones and working out. There's a lot that happens behind the door, behind a barbell, that you can't help. And, the hard part, for me and a lot of other fitness professionals, is like you come home at the end of the day and you do want to just shut down. It's not negative. It's not resentful or mad. It's just like, I'm so exhausted emotionally. I don't want to talk to anybody. How do you get through that?
Man, so I think right now, I'm blessed in many ways. My team is absolutely awesome, and I feel so supported by them, where they hold down a lot of these things, and a lot of them stepped up into roles, into positions where they are owning more now. So I have a bit more freedom. That varies. But, I'm also blessed that, my girlfriend, Brandy, she also runs her own personal training business. So she also kind of understands the nature of the game, right? Like, she's kind of going solo right now. So, there are the longer hours, and it just really makes you appreciate the time that you do get. Like earlier today even, one of her clients canceled. She came back at 12. We got to have lunch together, and it was just like, oh yeah, like this is so beautiful, So it's just, if you are in that, because I've also been on the other side, it's really just having that conversation. It's a tough conversation, and I think one of the things that has been helpful for us is that we do a date night every single Wednesday for, and we don't miss it. If it can't be Wednesday, we might move it to Thursday, and sometimes that's going out to grab some food, but a lot of times it's like, hey, like, I'm intentionally just here with you. My phone is away. Or it might just be watching Love is Blind or something, but I'm here with you. And then with friends, I have like a habit tracker of every single month or every 2 months I hang out with at least one of my guys, right? And that's just there, and I won't miss it because it's important to me.
I like the habit tracker. What spark? And it's just literally you just have a habit, and it's just the individual people's names and last time you did it. Like, you just like track when you saw them.
No, I just have like, it's a Google sheet with like check boxes, and it just says like
It's like a session.
yeah, it's like, actually, Josh knows, like, he's seen my Google Sheets.
The boy can do like complete voodoo when it comes to color palettes on Google Sheets. It's intense.
But yeah, because that's the thing, is like, one of my early mentors told me, like, if it's important to you, schedule it. And that always stuck with me, and it's become so much more, where even here on my wall, like, I have my core values, I have my vision for the next year, my goals, I have quotes that resonate with me, and all of it is, there's so much swirling around in the worlds of entrepreneurs, and I think just people in general, that if these things are in front of you, it makes sense why they aren't happening. It's hard. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's hard. So sometimes I get off track, and then I go to check off my habit sheet for the week, or some days I do it every day, some days it's once a week, and I go, oh shoot, like, let me hit up a buddy right now. Let me try to set something up for 2 weeks from now. And that's all it is you try your best. You're never going to be perfect. But just going, hey, this thing is important for me, so I put it somewhere in front of me, and I'm going to do my best. And that's all it really is.
I love it. You can tell you're a great coach. There's like, in all of this, there's so many tidbits that someone can take away and implement into their life. It's powerful. What's been the one or two biggest game changers for you? Whether it's mentality, it's business, it's family and life balance. What are the one or two things that really have made the biggest difference?
I think the biggest one overall is really investigating your beliefs and your belief system. And I think it gets said a lot, like, what do you believe in or whatever else. But I really think that that is one of the biggest game changers on people, right? And going back to what I said, sometimes that happens, your belief change happens through reading or acquiring knowledge. It happens through going to like friends or therapy, whatever else, and getting that feedback. And sometimes it happens through like joining a mastermind. Because even for me, like I was like, oh, I'm going to have one gym. That's going to be awesome. And then I joined this mastermind and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, these people have 4 gyms and they own real estate. And all of a sudden my beliefs changed to what was possible for me. But I think the biggest thing in all of that is you realize none of those things are just like sitting within yourself in isolation, right? It's all about like getting in the room with other people, whatever that looks like, even if that's a book, if that's a therapist, if that's mastermind, getting in the room with other people and seeing how they look at life. If you haven't read How to Win Friends and Influence People, you need to, because it's a huge book for just, hey, how do I get out of myself and just become so interested in everyone else that it ends up changing the way that I look at myself. So I think that's the first one, is just look at your belief system. Anytime you're running into something, just ask, is this the truth or is this just something I believe right now? And I think the second one is just being able to be resilient. And I don't know what it is for other people. For me, the resiliency comes from just like a deep feeling that I'm very taken care of and that in the end, like, you know, everything's going to work out and I'm going to be okay. And like there's a power greater than me that's driving everything. And even with that, I think there's also a bit of a freedom in that, because I'm like, yeah, we're all going to die. You know, none of us are going to like live 150 years from now. Every single person you know right now or you may stress out about will be gone. And in 200 years, almost none of us are going to be remembered. So that kind of like took the slack off me. The book is Time Management for Mortals, by the way, that talks more about this. But it took all the pressure off me, because it's like, yeah, like I'm gonna die, you know, like I don't know what my great grandfather did, and that's only like 3 generations. So I might as well have freedom in what I create, you know.
Right. Who cares? Right.
Yeah, who cares? Like,
Just get out there.
Try something. Yeah. And I think that's been like those are the 2 things. Like, look at your beliefs and also realize that my belief is that everything is going to work. And my belief is that at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. You know, 200 years from now, nobody's probably going to know me. And those both together are so powerful and so freeing that it allows me to, I still get anxious. I still get nervous. I still second guess things all the time. Am I doing this right? But far less than I used to. And I think that's like the gold in those 2 for sure.
That's incredible, man. I think, honestly, when I usually wrap up a podcast, I usually ask a question of, what do you do to live more vibrant each day? That kind of might answer that. That was, that's pretty awesome. I think the first concept is the law of limiting beliefs. We know what we know. And part of it is our upbringing, our parents, right? What they've shown us, the exposures we've had in the world. Yeah, the mastermind thing, it completely changed the way I think. So I think that's brilliant, man. Thank you for that. But what else? What do you do to live more vibrant? As we wind it down, I'll still give you the shot. What do you do to live more vibrant?
Man, I would say this is one I underrated for a while. Sleep 6+ hours and get some damn sun. That changes so much. It was like when I had more time, I wasn't coaching the 5 a.m., I would still sleep like 5.5 hours. And now I'm like 7 every single night. And then also I try to be outside as much as possible. Like I think a lot more research is coming out and a lot more people are gaining awareness of it. But if you're, you know, in the gym or just inside or your windows are always closed all day, yeah, you're going to deal with depression. Your self-image isn't going to be as good. You're going to, like, your energy is going to be less. And so, you know, it's kind of crazy. I was like, oh, that's bullshit. It's woo-woo, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, as more research has come out, it's like, oh, shoot, it's really that. So I really think those are 2 big things. Sleep and getting some sun. And if you just do those consistently, you'll feel way better.
As I dove down the rabbit hole of research to create Vybrant and start with our sleep product, as I was writing the book, the amount of, and I'll just say benefits, right? You say sleep 6 hours. It is mind blowing that every hour under about 7, 6, 7, depends on the body, but basically every hour under, if you're consecutive, the amount of damage that's done in terms of nervous system state, hormone regulation, right? Weight gain, fat loss, all of it. So what do you do to live more vibrant? I sleep. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
That's so true.
That's awesome. Well, Marcus, this has been an absolute pleasure. It is so great to have you on. I can't thank you enough, man. Any final words? I do want to say, where can we find you? Obviously, give us where your gym is if you're in Pasadena or the Valley, but also your socials. How can we find you?
Yeah, so our first studio right now is in Pasadena. AionTraining.com, AION Training.com is where you can find more if you're looking for that. We specialize in personal training for people over 40. So if you're in the area or if you know someone is, where it's like, hey, I don't feel good at a big box gym, you can come check us out there. If you're looking to follow me, I post random stuff and lifts and clips and everything. You can check me out at Marcus _McDuffie, my last name, and you'll be able to see all my stuff there too. So I talk about some of this over there as well.
And what do you call it? Big lift of the day? No, it's a strong thing today. What do you say on yours?
Oh man, I forgot about that. Yeah, I was running that for a while. Strong thing of the day.
Yeah, and he would just like lift random shit. It would just be him doing an incredible amount of weight. It was awesome. So, strong thing of the day, Marcus McDuffie. Man, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome, brother. Hey, thank you so much, man. You take care.